Space Station. Hi guys, it's Ben here from T-Rex Space Station. How's everyone doing? I've been thinking, yes, and I know what you're going to say. Oh, you've been having your thoughts again and now you're going to go off on a big rambly video. Well, yes, that's exactly what's going to happen, but please bear with me because I've got some points to make. I guess I could phrase this video as a question. Do you prefer to watch big or small channels? But I guess that's kind of an oversimplification, so I guess you could see this as more a discussion of the merits and drawbacks of large versus small channels. For me, I started getting into watching gaming videos through watching some of the really big professional YouTube channels, you know, like Boogie10988 or Classic Game Room, some of the really prevalent channels that pretty much everybody loves. I'm guessing that a lot of you started watching those big channels before you got into making your own YouTube videos, and maybe like me you were inspired by them. I think these are a good place to start because the quality of the content is very high, so they're very accessible, user-friendly and engaging. Kind of a gentle way to ease yourself into watching video game related content. As I've said in my previous videos, big channels tend to be big for a reason, and usually it's because the content is very good or the person that does it is especially good at getting their point across. The content level is high and therefore it is easy to watch, it's not too daunting. And you can kind of, you know, come and go and get bite sizes of information that are delivered very effectively and in an engaging way. Certainly for those of us with the short attention spans, the bigger channels, you know, ones like Peanut Butter Gamer and things, tend to be very engaging and fun and quite easy to watch, so they're easy on the eyes and the ears. The other thing to say is that some of the really big channels tend to have good production values, firstly because they've been around for a while and so they've honed their skills, but also because they have good money and backing and, you know, a lot more resources than would be available to your kind of bedroom vlogger. And so, you know, it's very nice on the eyes, has high production values, and sometimes can be really, really impressive, the things that can be pulled off with a bit of time, money, and, you know, some sponsorship, etc. The other thing to say is that sometimes big channels have exclusive content that you wouldn't get elsewhere. You know, sponsorship deals from indie games companies and things where they get exclusive access to their game and they can show it off earlier. That kind of thing can be very cool and be one of the benefits of watching larger channels. I used to watch some of the big video game review sites, GameSpot and IGN, and I found their reviews very informative. Again, it comes down to that sort of professionalism that you would get from there. I felt like they really did try to unpack each of the areas of the games and to present the information in a detailed and critical way, and that was really all I used to watch before buying games back in the day. Other points would be that maybe if you're commenting on those videos, it's likely that your comments will be seen by quite a large number of people and may get good exposure to other members of the game community that like similar stuff to you, so it can be a cool way to interact. However, I think there are some drawbacks to the bigger channels, and I'd like to discuss those too, parts where smaller channels may have the edge over the larger ones. I actually did go off watching like GameSpot and IGN video game reviews because it just didn't have that personal touch. You can kind of tell when a professional game reviewer or somebody who works for a company reviews a game. Yes, it is analytic and it is quite objective and goes into good detail, but it misses that personal flavour, that kind of individual opinion, that nostalgia or that connection with the game that you get from somebody talking about it who's actually played it and loved it. You know, somebody who's talking about the game for a particular reason other than just that they need to make content or that it's their job to do so. And I guess that's kind of what it comes down to. When something that you do for fun becomes your job that you start earning money for, I think that could kind of lose its fun, and certainly some of the bigger, more professional channels like GameSpot or IGN do lose that fun aspect. Maybe a little joke here or there, but they kind of feel stilted. They're less personal, less involved, and yeah, lose that kind of funny edge. And I think that's another point to move on to about being less involved. Certainly if you're interacting with large YouTubers, you're much less likely to get a response at all, or a meaningful response. You know, the sheer number of messages and likes and shares that these channels must receive is absolutely mind-boggling. It's very unrealistic to think that if you're commenting on them, that the person that made the content is going to see it or respond to it. It's simply not likely. Think of the thousands of other people that are doing that. Sometimes you can feel like you're just going to get lost in a big swathe of people commenting on the videos, and so you really do lose the personal touch the larger the channel becomes, unless they happen to be one of your mates that you've known for a long time, in which case your comment will be you know, noticed above all the others. I said that it can be cool to be exposed to large numbers of people if you comment on their videos, but this has massive drawbacks as well. And I'm talking about trolls. I mean, if you put a comment out there and it's not something that everyone likes, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb, and hundreds or possibly thousands of people will see it. That increases your chances of bumping into absolute twats really by a large amount. You know, commenting on a friend's channel, a smaller channel, even if you happen to say something stupid or annoying, it's very unlikely to backfire. If you comment on one of these massive channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers and you say something that's against the grain, you're really sticking your neck out, and I guess I learned that the hard way. The comment section on big channels should basically just be completely avoided. It's a minefield of utter shit, of people just really being unnecessarily troll-like, and I just can't be doing with it. In fact, I barely read the comments in the larger videos anymore for that reason. It's just going to be absolutely full of idiots spouting trash. I did once comment on, I think it was a video for the HD remake of Pierre Solar, saying that I wouldn't be buying it, and I listed a few reasonably fair reasons, and I got some troll telling me to go suck a dick. Thanks very much for that, that was really useful. From now on, I guess I'll stick to talking to people that I think are friendly or that I can relate to. Probably smaller channels where I think I might get a response, and where I think that I'm probably safe from trolls or just getting ridiculous offensive comments. They don't bother me to a great deal, and I don't take them personally, but they do bother me that I can't interact with people without some dickhead spoiling the experience. I guess they just make me more skeptical of the comments section in general. I think my enjoyment of smaller channels really comes down to that personal touch that I was mentioning. People who are doing this as a hobby, or you know, just as something that they like to do, that they have a drive to do, that's really inspiring, and just seeing people talking about things that they love is really infectious. And I think that's the part that smaller channels have. It's that individual personal touch that sometimes larger channels can miss out on. You kind of feel like you're making friends and just talking with friends about things that you like. It's much more interactive. You know, there are video responses and messages and themes that kind of run through that means that smaller channels really have something, you know, something endearing about them. I'd also say that sometimes when I used to go to watch plays, I'd actually really like to kind of see amateur plays, especially if you were going to see a comedy, because there'd always be like little fuck-ups and things that went wrong that actually ended up adding to the experience rather than detracting from it. When things are over-polished, they lose that personal touch and can become a little bit robotic, and I actually really love watching, you know, vlogs in the bedroom with a webcam type channels that are really kind of, you know, grassroots level. There's something gritty and nice about those. It's sometimes nice to watch things that aren't overly polished, and it's kind of refreshing to have a break from all the technology and the overproduction and the slickness, and just kind of get back to people. You know, sometimes I find that having something simply presented does mean that you focus more on what's actually being said and the person, rather than the, you know, the aesthetic experience or the special effects, all those polished things that add on. Sometimes those can detract from the experience. You know, sometimes it is nice just to see a really simple channel where someone's just talking to a camera in their bedroom about stuff that you like, and that again feels more realistic to me and more appealing in certain senses. There are some downsides though. It's not all a bed of roses. Sometimes the information isn't packaged quite as nicely in the smaller channels because things are a little bit more amateur and not as professional. I can remember once watching a video on like 5 ways to grow your channel, and the video was far too long. The information was stuck in the middle, in between some ramblings about what was going on in the person's life as they made themselves a cup of coffee, all these other things that were really unpolished and meant the information was so damn hard to get to. So I think sometimes when things are slightly less polished, it can detract from the presentation of the information because it just needs that kind of professional gloss and that ability to kind of sell information in an engaging way. But I think that's few and far between. I guess what I would say is that sometimes you have to be more prepared to go at a slower pace with the smaller or more amateur channels. It's kind of funny, but talking about liking smaller channels really reminds me of when I was at school. I used to really like this band called Payable on Death. They were kind of a Christian rap metal band. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the coolest thing in the world, but I really liked them. And I liked that band way before they were cool, way before they were signed to like proper big record labels. You know, I liked them when they were on this little indie metal label. And then they produced Satellite, and that went like triple platinum, and then suddenly everybody liked them. And it gave me a slight sinking feeling when suddenly everybody liked my band and they were all talking about it and spoiling it even though they didn't properly know them. And it reminds me of YouTube channels in a way. I really like finding channels for myself, you know, ones that haven't been advertised to me by YouTube or, you know, pushed onto my screen through, you know, recommended videos. I like finding a channel that's relatively unspoiled by other people, that's, you know, kind of like a hidden gem, I suppose. There's something nice about that sense of discovery of a channel that you can relate to that hasn't necessarily been widely advertised or shoved in your face. I think that is the nice part about being a member of an organic community. You know, there are undiscovered gems out there for you to find without having to always be about the big or the mainstream or what's thrown in your face. I mean, of course, I don't have that stupid jealousy when if the channel was to get popular, I'm like, oh, you guys like Paywall and Death now, fuck off. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I think one of the nice things about being part of an organic and growing community is that we can help out channels or give channels shout-outs when we spot them, and that's great too. You know, channels should be judged on their own merit rather than on the number of subscribers. So yes, just some little thoughts here on what I think about large and small channels. I'd like to know your opinion on this. Do you subscribe to really large channels? Do you regularly comment on large channels, and have you ever had any responses? Or are you like me? You know, were you kind of drawn into this by some of the bigger channels, but actually now kind of enjoying finding those little grassroots level you know, more basic channels? You know, I think that it's not necessarily a one answer or one size fits all question, but I think it's interesting to discuss the merits of the two, isn't it? Anyway, take care guys, thanks for listening to me waffling on, and I will speak to you all soon. Bye.